Hello everyone, today we're going to be doing LeetCode problem 645, which is set mismatch. This problem states you have a set of integers s, which originally contains all the numbers from 1 to n. Unfortunately, due to some error, one of the numbers in s got duplicated to another number in the set, which results in repetition of one number and loss of another number. You are given an integer array nums representing the data status of the set after the error. Find the number that occurs twice and the number that is missing and return them in the form of an array. So in the example 1, we have nums array is 1, 2, 2, 4. So the duplicate number is 2 and the missing number is 3. It should be 1, 2, 3, 4 in the array. Example 2, nums is 1, 1. The output is 1, 2. So 1 is duplicated and the missing number is 2. So the way I'm going to do this is we're going to iterate through nums and put values into a vector. And we'll count the number of times that a number appears in nums. Say that 3 times fast. Anyway, so let's start with defining n, an integer for the length of nums. Okay, now we're going to do an int array, call it vector, and that is going to be a new int, and we're going to do n plus 1. And this will be, I'll run this through the debugger. This will be more clear, or clearer as we go through it. Basically, we're going to be adding, every time we're going to be adding 1 to the vector, so we need to have, we'll start at position 0, which will always be 0 because we're adding 1. So we need to have it be 1 longer than the actual nums array. We'll define, this is going to be our missing number. We'll set that equal to 0, and then duplicate. We'll also set that to 0. Alrighty then. So let's iterate through the nums array. So I equals 0. I is less than n. I plus plus. Fairly straightforward. Alrighty, so this is where it gets a little tricky. So we're going to add numbers to the vector. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the first value, the value in nums. We're going to start with the first value, and we're going to add that to vector. Now we're going to increment this after, and this is why we needed to add plus 1 to the vector. And this may not seem clear now, but when I run it through the debugger, it should make a little more sense. So that's pretty much all we need to do there. Then, so now after we get that built, the vector will contain all the numbers and, will contain the count of all the numbers. Okay, so now we just need to iterate through vector. So int I equals 1, starting at position 1, I less than the vector length, and I plus plus. Alright, so this is fairly straightforward. So if vector at position I equals 2, well, then we have our duplicate number. So we're going to assign that to I. And by the same token, if vector I equals 0, then we're going to assign missing equal I. And that's all we really need to do. We need to return, we'll do a new int array, and it basically needs duplicate first and then missing value. And that's pretty much it. So let's run this, see what I messed up. Okay, that looks like it was accepted. Case 1, case 2. So let's debug this. Int n is num's length, which is 4. And we're going to define a new vector. So if you look over here on the left, scoot this over a little bit, vector, so we have an array of 5 zeros, which is nums plus 1. Missing and duplicate are both zeros. So here we're going to go through every value in the nums array. So we step into this. So I is equal to 0. So nums 0 at position 0 is the number 1. Now we do a plus plus. So we're going to take vector at position 1, which is the second value in the vector array. And you'll notice, you'll watch over on the left, it assigned 1 to actually position 1 in the vector array. Okay, so now we'll go through again, and you'll see that 1, or I is 1, so nums 1 is the number 2. So vector at position 2, we're going to add 1 to that. So at position 2, the current number in the vector is 0. So you can see there it adds a 1. So now we're going to go through again. And I is 2. So nums 2, position 2, 0, 1, 2 is also the number 2. So vector 2, now we're going to add another 1 to the vector at position 2. So you can see over here I've got 0, 1, 2. Alright, so now I is 3, which is going to be the last iteration of this loop because n is 4. It's got to be less than n. So vector nums 3 at position 3 is the number 4. So vector at position 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So see this last 0 turned to a 1. And that's it. So now I need to loop through this vector array and look for the value that's duplicated, which is the number 2 here. You can see from the nums array, it's twice. And then the number we're missing is going to be equal to 0, which is in position 3. All right, so to do that, I is 1, so that's all good. Now I is 2 because we started with 1. So now position 2 is duplicated. So position 0, 1, and 2 is the number 2, so that's duplicate. So now we assign that to duplicate, which is the number 2. And we'll step through it again, because it can't be both 2 and 0. So now, I3, which is going to be the 0, at position 3. So vector 3 here, position 0. And then we assign that to missing. So now, we can go through with the last 4, last number, which won't have anything, and then we just need to return, and there's the output, 2, 3. So let's submit this. Looks good, it's fast. So the time complexity of this is O of n, which is this line here. Basically, the only way we're going to take longer is if the original value, the array nums, is larger. And same with space complexity. We're just doing 2 for loops, so the only way it's going to take up more space is if we increase the value of n. That's it. Hope you learned something, and we'll see you next time.